What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Green Lantern John Stewart. And so here we have the McFarlane John Stewart posed and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through his accessories really fast. John Stewart does come with 3 different accessories. We do get a construct armor piece, which does fit around the figure's torso, which does look nice. We get a backpack, which goes on the back of John Stewart, and that also looks really nice. And then my favorite accessory, he does get a mini machine gun construct, and that's really done exceptionally well. I love that. And then, of course, he gets the McFarlane DC Multiverse display base. Other than that, John Stewart doesn't come with anything else, so let's actually take a closer look at his details. And so here we have a closer look at the McFarlane Rebirth John Stewart, and I have to say, this is one beautiful figure. They did an exceptional job with John Stewart here. There's a lot of things to love about this figure. I really only have one issue with this figure, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But as far as this figure goes, one of the best that McFarlane has ever made. There's a lot to go over with this figure. He took a really plain costume, because John Stewart really doesn't have that exciting of a costume, and McFarlane made it interesting. And let's actually go through his details really fast. As far as the face goes, this is John Stewart. This is what you envision whenever you think of John Stewart, the Green Lantern. Just those piercing green eyes with the ooh, it just looks so good. I'm finding a hard time putting my words together. The haircut is exceptionally done well. I think the one thing that they could have done better with the hair is actually made it fade in, because that's pretty much how John's hair is, but I'm not complaining about it. It's still a very, very well done and very well executed paint job. A lot of people say McFarlane doesn't know how to paint eyes. This is a very good example of McFarlane putting the best work forward. You can see John Stewart's eyes are perfect. They look like you would expect eyes to look like. And even though it's a comic book character, those green piercing eyes do a really good job of looking menacing, just like John Stewart is. He is an imposing Green Lantern, and that's something that they captured very well with this figure. But he also looks like he has a soft side to him, which is another character aspect of John Stewart, which I do like. John Stewart isn't my favorite Green Lantern, but he is one of my favorite Green Lanterns, if that makes any sense. So enough about the face, because it's just beautiful. I love this face sculpt. Let's actually have a look at his costume. Now, like I said, it's not the most exciting costume, but McFarlane has done a really good job of adding detail to this costume while keeping the traditional John Stewart costume intact. As always, we do have the Green Lantern insignia right here, which is painted wonderfully. I love it. It's so nicely done. Although I do feel mine is a little bit crooked. It might be that the lantern insignia is a separate piece that they peg in. That's probably why mine is just slightly off-centered. But I can live with it. It's still done exceptionally well. And then McFarlane did go ahead and add panel linings to John Stewart's costume. It's not overdone to the point where it's extreme, but it's just subtle enough that you see that it does highlight some detailing on his costume. And like I said, that panel lining works for this figure. And of course, we do have a peg hole for his backpack, and the armor does sit around this peg hole and around his emblem right there. His shoulders do get a little more panel lining than his torso, but it still works overall with the figure. So again, that's just the green piece of his costume. So let's actually talk about the main part of his costume. McFarlane went all out with John Stewart. They did a fantastic job adding details to his costume that you really wouldn't think about, and it looks good. I know there's a way you can add detailing and then it gets too much. This is just subtle enough that it works. You can see there's some armor plating, some panel lining right here. It's just done very, very well. And as we go on to the back, you can see a little more armor plating, but then we don't have any panel lining back here, which keeps that nice, clean, crisp look. Going on to his arms, you can see they added some detailing right here on his biceps and on his triceps, which I'm not going to complain about that. That's a really nice little detail, and it does carry over throughout parts of his costume. So you really can't get upset that they added some finer details like that, because you can see we do have some of that line work right in here, and then that continues here on the bicep. We have some on the forearm. One thing I really do appreciate about this figure is the paint. There's very little paint on this figure. If anything, the only paint is on the head and this black piece right here. The green is actually molded. Everything that is green on this figure is molded in green, so I do like that. His gauntlets appear to be one solid piece with his forearm, but they're actually soft rubber pieces that overlay on the forearm, and I really do like that little detail. It means that this matches this, and that is a very, very nice little detail. Something different that McFarlane has done here is that he added gloves to Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart normally doesn't wear gloves, but you can see he is wearing some gloves, and they did add some detailing right here on his hand. That looks really nice. And then he did add detailing on the Green Lantern ring. Even though it's not the right ring for Jon Stewart has the Honor Guard ring, which is just an insignia. It's not the circular ring. It's still done exceptionally well. I love that McFarlane actually added the little detail of the lantern insignia here. So yeah, just on his arms and torso, there's a lot to like about him. But going on to his waist, we get some more of that detailing here, and it looks alien-like, but at the same time, it's something that you would expect a Green Lantern to wear. Again, we continue with this line work right here. We have some panel lining right here, some piping going down. And I do like the fact that they kept it black. They didn't try adding green where it wasn't necessary. Like, they could have easily tried adding a green wash in between these little lines, but they didn't. They left it black. And just that contrast in detail and texture is enough to bring out those little details that you want to see on figures like this. Then we go on to his boots, which again have that panel lining, which looks really good. I do like it. I don't know, there's something about this line work that works with Jon Stewart. I can't put my finger on it, but it does look good. It works for the character. It's just overall beautiful. McFarlane once again has gone above and beyond to give us a really good comic book adaptation of a figure, and Jon Stewart here is no pushover when it comes to detail. Now, I do have to go over my one and only gripe with this figure. His arms seem to be a little bit too long. If his chest was a little broader, his arms wouldn't appear as long as they are, but he has this really nice muscular yet slim torso, which does make his arms appear longer than they actually are. You can see his hands actually just end like about halfway up his thigh, which is right, but there's just something about the look that makes his arms seem longer than what they actually are. It's not a huge deal. I can look past it, especially when you get them posed. You're never going to notice it. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually compare him with other figures you may have in your collection. So here we have Jon Stewart posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Jon Stewart posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Jon Stewart posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And finally, here we have the McFarlane Jon Stewart posed next to a NECA Green Lantern and a DC Universe Classics Jon Stewart. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Jon Stewart's articulation. And he does have the articulation you would expect from a McFarlane figure. For starters, he does have a double ball joint here in the neck, which he can look up quite a bit. I do like that. He can bury his head into his neck, which does look good, and it works for having him posed looking down, especially if you have him on a flight stand. We do get some really nice head pivot with Jon Stewart, so you can see really nice tilt. Does turn left and right, no problem. His arms are on ball sockets going into the torso, so that does provide some forward and back movement, some up and down movement, and pretty much that's it. But his arm does go out to the side about there, and you can lift his arm up with that ball joint just to give him a little more range. and of no problem. His arm does go all the way. Really love that. We have a traditional bicep swivel, which works no problem. Double bend here at the elbow. Although this top joint is a little bit stiff on mine, you can still get him to bend all the way. And even though the gauntlet is a separate piece, it doesn't hinder articulation. It's soft enough and it gets out of the way. We have a ball hinge here at the wrist, so it does have some up and down movement. You can rotate that to have in and out movement, and it of course rotates on that pin. So we do have, I'm guessing it's a single ball joint here in the torso, which does let him lean back about that far. He can lean forward about that far, which is okay. He does have some slight lean left and right, and of course some rotation. And at first looks, you would think that his torso right here is one solid piece. Now that isn't the case. This is actually a soft piece right here. It's a rubber overlay on his abdomen section, so that does lean back to about that far. You can get him to lean forward about that far, which isn't that great. Lean side to side, no problem. Rotation works perfectly. Legs do kick forward all the way up. You can see he has some of the best articulation we've seen in the legs for a McFarlane figure. Does kick back to about that far. Goes out. Oh, and that's pretty much all he goes out. You're not going to get Jon Stewart to do any kind of kung fu kicks, which is unfortunate, but I mean, that kick alone is impressive. So yeah, we do have a slight thigh swivel in Jon Stewart, so they did add thigh swivel to him. It's implemented in some way. We do have double bend at the knee going all the way back. Really do like that. No boot swivel, but we do have rotation here at the ankle. We do have a hinge in the foot which goes back and forward really nicely. I do like that. We have a forward facing pin for rocker ankle, and you can pivot that joint to give him a true rocker ankle, so I do like that. And then we have a very, very generous toe hinge. So overall, Jon Stewart here is an amazing looking figure with some pretty good articulation. If anything, he could use better abdomen articulation, but other than that, he is still a phenomenal figure. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Jon Stewart posed for my final thoughts, and overall this is a gorgeous looking figure. I am really, really impressed by this particular version of Jon Stewart. McFarlane has gone above and beyond creating this particular version of Jon Stewart, and it came out beautiful. This is a very well executed figure in terms of detail, accessories, paint apps, and articulation. I think Jon Stewart here is one of my favorite DC Multiverse figures to come out since McFarlane has had the license, and this just shows you how much McFarlane has improved since gaining the license. We were ready for highly detailed figures, but this figure is very detailed, well articulated. The accessories work for him. McFarlane is getting much better when it comes to these figures, and I am really looking forward to see what he does moving forward, because if this Jon Stewart set the bar, I really want to see what he can do with other figures like Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan. Hell, give us Sinestro. I want to see more Green Lantern style characters, because this just whet my appetite. The constructs that this Jon Stewart comes with are perfect, and you can give it to any Green Lantern figure, which I really do like that. It's just such a beautiful figure. There's really hardly any negatives I can say about it, besides his arms seemingly they're a little bit too long, but honestly, you don't notice it when this figure is posed. So if you can find this Green Lantern, this Jon Stewart, if you're a fan of the character or just want a really awesome Green Lantern in your collection, you cannot go wrong with this figure. And at a $20 price tag, how can you argue against it? This is well executed and well deserved of your collection. Now, Jon Stewart here is available at Target at the time I'm making this video. However, it is just a timed exclusive, seeing as how Jon Stewart is available on pre-order at Amazon, and he should be available at Walmart any moment now. So be on the lookout for Walmart. I know Amazon kind of sells out of him frequently, but just keep checking him, add him to your wish list. You'll be able to get him for the $20, which again, I think is a very fair price point for this figure. With that being said, guys, I'm King of Dragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.